Hello everyone, this is Maryann from Revealing Light Tarot and my good friend and colleague, Vicky, Dr.
Vicky Sturbo, or owner, as I'm known to Zoom, it seems.
Exactly. After this, I'll show you how to change that. But that's okay, you can be the owner. All right. So, the owner of wisdom and knowledge and astrological knowledge, Vicky, I really do, because you're very, very. How long have you been at this, looking at astrology?
I started studying astrology as soon as I got out of chiropractic school, when I could actually study the things I was really interested in. I mean, I enjoyed school and I was a good student, so I did well. But once I was able to put the physiology books and the chemistry books and all of that, I picked up some other things. And I actually had a patient of mine say, you should really get your astrology chart done. I think you would really like it. And so I did, and right around my Saturn return. And it told me more about myself than I knew. And I was always someone who was trying to figure out who I was, because what people were telling me didn't make sense to me. And so I said, well, I had my first astrology reading and I'm like, wow, this is going to tell me who I am. And so that was the journey for me. But it's been about 30 years now since I started studying. Yeah.
Unreal. I've only been at this maybe a little over 12 months, 18 months. So I'm learning all the time. But I so thoroughly agree that an astrology chart, a natal chart, will tell you a lot about who you are. For me,
Right.
it was remembering who I was and looking at
Right.
the placements and remembering and putting the pieces of the puzzle fitting. So that's what we want to do. We're going to take a look. It's going to be a blend of astrology and tarot, because I think they go together well, don't you? The tarot.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It's amazing. I get emails from astrologers who say those cards are so reflecting what the astrological patterns and charts are reflecting at the moment.
Right.
So we're going to take a look at, first up, we're going to take a look at Trump's chart. What are you going to put up for us?
I thought we could look at the inauguration chart for 2021. Okay, so just give me a moment and I will share this with us. All right. Okay. We see that, right?
Wow, yeah, I've got a good view of that.
Okay, good. So so this is the chart for the 19th of January 2021. And I haven't done the numbers on that yet, so let me just do that really quickly. Wow, okay.
Yeah,
so the vibration of that day, in the way I do numerology, is actually a 7.
So lesson 7, talking about lessons, wisdom earned and gained, having to learn.
Right.
I wonder if this is a forward looking, because the learning, I mean, you and I both agree that our cards and the work we've done thus far, as of today, we see a Biden and Harris winning in November 3rd, albeit a delay in results because of Trump's, whatever Trump's going to do. There's This is all within the realm of possibility. But it's not as if things will suddenly miraculously heal and go back to the way they were once Biden and Harris, become president and VP. There's a lot of difficult, what I'm seeing in that chart is a lot of difficult road ahead, particularly around the economy, around, this pandemic and the downturn, and really having to deal with the realities. And it's not just in the US, it's everywhere. Deal with the realities of what almost 12 months of a pandemic has given us. Not to mention the disunity and the rise of that neo-fascist kind of movement. That's not going to go away overnight. So what do you see in that chart? Vicky?
So I see a couple of things. Of course, we have the sun, because they do it at noon. The sun is always at the top of the chart generally. But the sun is not, it's usually in Aquarius, but it's not, it's actually in Capricorn. And so Capricorn is a little bit of a nod to the past. We're still dealing with the past. And in fact, the vibration of 2021 is actually a 5 vibration, right? It is it's the Hierophant in the tarot. And so there is the energy is, the 5 really is about freedom, but it's freedom based on responsibility. So if we want to be free, we're going to have to do the work of that. And so there is this sense of really working with the past more than the future, right? So we really don't get, because in the tree of life, the path of the Hierophant is in the pillar of the past. And so was this year. This year was actually in the pillar of the past, connecting the pillar of the past to the present moment. So it's as if the past was revisiting us. And that's why we saw a lot of, things that happened in the past coming into consciousness. And on the tree of life, it was connecting the third eye to the heart. So everything we were seeing, we were feeling.
Yes.
Okay. This time in 2021, the path that's getting activated is the third eye and the throat chakra. It's a path that connects, right, that. So it has to do with seeing and speaking, but it's in the pillar of the past. So what lessons are we going to learn, right, from the past? And I think that whoever gets in, they're going to have to deal with the past. Now, I think that from, looking at this chart, or even just looking at the election chart and Trump's chart and all those charts, I do feel like that Biden is going to win. Now, whether or not he can get in a timely manner, I don't know what the rules are for the inauguration, but if there's such an issue that and you know what Trump's going to do, he's just going to sue and sue and sue and say this and say that, right? He uses the legal profession and the way that the legal profession is set up as a weapon.
Apparently.
And so there's always that consideration, but I don't know the actual legal precedence of that.
Going on my viewers who have toyed with this question, if there is no definitive president, then as I understand it, Pelosi takes over.
Right, that's right, Pelosi.
All these scenarios that people are, putting forward, and I feel that just creates fear. I think why I think this is Biden's chart is that if we look at that Jupiter, Saturn, and Mercury placement,
right,
they're not in Capricorn anymore. The
right.
Pluto, the Jupiter, the Saturn throughout 2020 was, gave us the pandemic, gave us this. I guess we had to feel in a intuitive and psychic sense that we were being conned by these plutocrats, or
right.
moving towards some sort of kleptocracy, really. We had to kind of see the danger signs that this is what could unfold. And we've got these major planets all conjunct. Not all conjunct, but they're Mercury and, see, my chart shows slightly different from yours, but that's okay. But we've got them all in, we've got Jupiter and Saturn conjunct in Aquarius. Now, right. I'm going to ask you, as an astrologer of 30 years, tell me the difference between Jupiter and Saturn conjunct in Aquarius, in the 10th house, which is legacies, public images, career, whatever, the kind of thing you would expect from a president of the United States, leaders. Jupiter and Saturn in Aquarius conjunct in the 10th house. How is that different from what we've seen, Jupiter and Saturn and Pluto in Capricorn this year?
Well, one of the things that you take into consideration when you're looking at a combination of planets is the relationship between the two planets. And in the case of Saturn and Jupiter have a particular 20-year cycle. And that 20-year cycle is considered, it's considered a generational cycle. It's also considered a financial cycle. Mm. And the last time these two planets came together was in 2000. And it occurred in Taurus, interestingly enough. And this is the first time that it's happened in air signs. So this 20-year, every time they come together, has been in earth signs for a long time. Now it's starting a whole new sort of cycle in air. And so the energy Saturn and Jupiter deal with the expansion and contraction of society. Okay. And so it's as if we're starting a new society. And this conjunction, the actual conjunction of these two, occurs on the solstice. Here for us, the winter solstice, for you, the summer solstice. They're going to be conjunct in Aquarius. And a lot of people, a lot of astrologers feel like this is another sort of indication of the Aquarian age. Mm. And the thing is with Trump is that he is, in a way, he's a very Uranian character, right? So he is Uranus. In fact, the inauguration chart for 2017 had the sun in Aquarius, but it was all by itself in the 10th house. Mm-hmm. So there's this sense of this lone person, and Aquarius is about, to a certain extent, rebellion. Mm. So he would have had a very rebellious sort of energy towards the structures. So in a way, Trump has been breaking down the past or been waking us up to certain things about the past. Unfortunately, it's been a very painful experience bringing up the past, but all of that is coming up to be healed. This chart, to me, indicates a new beginning, because the relationship between Saturn and Jupiter is a new, what we call a new phase relationship. Yes. So it's about moving forward in an Aquarian direction. Mm. And of course, it's also, these two planets are square Uranus, which is the ruler of Aquarius, in Taurus, with Mars right there. So this indicates a lot of rebellious energy. Now, just for the general, like the next 4 years, and it kind of makes sense because in America, we're going through our Pluto return. We're actually in the middle of it, but it's not exact until 2022, 2023. And so at that time, there's a rebirth of the soul of America. And so with Pluto approaching Pluto, there's Pluto in Capricorn brings up all this repressed energy. It brings up the past. Capricorn is very much associated with the past, tradition, right? And also hierarchy, and to a certain extent, white supremacy. Mm-hmm. And so it's very interesting if you like look at all the other charts associated with this. These are all going to be issues that come up. And I don't feel like Trump is the type of person who could, besides bringing them up, he's not the type of energy who's going to fix them. No. Or who's going to endeavor to do anything. And this to me looks like a very much an endeavoring chart, and endeavoring to do something. Yeah. But there's going to be a lot of challenges, and there's going to be a lot of rebellion. And I think part of that rebellion is, once Trump does get out, is the markets are going to tank. In fact, I think they're already starting to do that. I think they tried to prop it up. I think a lot of what is going on in the stock market is his billionaire friends just trying to prop it up for him to get in. But I don't think he's going to win, but I don't think it's going to be like he loses on election day. Well, he may lose on election day, but he's not going to be willing to
Yeah.
to accept it.
I
At
also,
least not initially.
yeah, I agree with that. I'll just say one last thing, and then we'll move on to the other charts that we've got.
Yeah.
I will throw cards over this inauguration chart just to see what the challenges are for Biden. But
Okay.
before we move on from this chart, Chiron always fascinates me because I have Chiron in Pisces in the 9th house. But Chiron, of course, is that wounded healer, often shining that light on areas that we need to, we need to fix, we need to heal. And of course, that, even though that's in the 11th house of groups and friends, and we do have it very close to the moon in Aries as well. So there's some healing around this shadow covert aggression that needs to take place. Now, the fact that that's showing up in the inauguration chart, along with Mars, of course, in Taurus, all in the 12th house, sitting next to Uranus, Biden is going to have to manage the cult of Trump not wanting to go peacefully. But at the same time, what does occur, I feel, in the longer run will be healing, because we'll get to see exactly where that kind of shadow aggression leads us in politics. It has to come to the surface.
Right.
So, yeah. All right. So I'll throw cards on that later. But what have you got next for us, Vicky?
Okay, so I thought I wanted to show you just some interesting things in the chart of in the inauguration chart and the chart of Biden and Harris. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a triple chart, which is a little confusing when you look at it, but I want to point something out, and we'll see it with the triple chart.
Hopefully it works.
Oh yeah, no, it'll work. All right, so let me see. Oh, where's the inauguration? I just have to find where I put stuff. Okay, here we go. Here's the inauguration chart. We'll put Biden, and then we'll put Harris. And so this is the inauguration chart. We can see here that we have Mars, right, and Uranus here in the 12th house. There's the sun at 29. But an interesting thing, and something that maybe not everybody looks at, but this right here is an asteroid called Juno. So Juno was the queen of heaven, and she was the wife of Zeus. And so she had to share her power. She was a goddess in her own right. And she was Zeus's sister, right? That's how they used to do it in the Olympian days, I guess. So he married his sister. She became the queen of heaven, and he became, the thunder god. But she was very powerful, and she was powerful, and she's also associated with marriage, right, and partnership. And what's interesting is in the inauguration chart, we have her at 9 degrees, which is the same as Biden has it at 9 degrees, and Kamala Harris has it at 9 degrees.
Oh my goodness.
So it's right. So it's almost as if they were meant to be a partnership, right? So I see that connection, which I thought was very interesting.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but there's a lot of things. Their moons are very close together. They're very interesting chart. And then we have this here, which is within orb of Biden's moon, and really her moon as well. Okay. So there's a lot of connection. Let's see, we have Mercury on. Who's this? This is.
So the middle one, let's see. So we've got the inauguration. I'm pointing to it as if you can see.
This is the inauguration. Yeah. This is Joe. and
Yes.
this is Kamala on the
Yeah.
outside.
It's
Yeah.
interesting, Vicky, the Kamala's moon is in Aries in
Yes.
the 12th house, as is, you know, which again lends me to like a favorable interpretation of that moon in Aries. Would you
Right.
agree with that?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. She's one of the things that's interesting about her chart, and let me just pull up her chart
Mm.
with Trump's chart because this is very interesting.
Things
Because on some,
done so well till we mentioned Trump.
I know. I just
I'm sorry.
so one of the things is that it almost feels to me like this is a okay, hold on. I can't do I can't talk and do things at the same time. I just have to find Trump. Where is Trump? Oh, there he is. Okay. Yeah, I have to find him. I wish I could lose him.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So a couple of things about their charts together. Um, her North Node actually is she's having her nodal return right now.
Yeah.
Her North Node, the North Node is right around this degree,
Mm.
but Trump's sun is right on her North Node, falls in her 12th house. There was something else that oh, their Mars. Where is it? He has Mars in Leo. So does she.
She's
And
yeah.
so she has a lot of you know, she's her chart in general is very it has a lot of oppositions in it, and when you have a lot of oppositions in your chart, you're very much able to see both sides of the situation. There's a lot of balancing that she has to do and that she's done. And even in her sun moon, she has a full moon. Her moon is full and it's in Aries, so um she's a fighter, and I almost feel like when she became part of the ticket, I think that's when Trump really got nervous about it.
Yeah, look, I always said back when I was pulling cards that Biden chose her for that, you know, one of the reasons, not obviously there were many reasons, but because she would be able to fight, but also the cleaning up legally that will need to be
Right,
post Trump.
right,
So I think Biden is comforted by having her as his partner in a lot of ways, but particularly because she will fight with, you know, take on Trump, but she also knows her stuff, you know, as a former attorney general. So yeah.
right, right, right.
Mm.
Okay, so I'll pull this down and you can pull the cards, yeah?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, cool. So there we are.
Okay, so for all the reasons that we've discussed, we're going to go back to the inauguration chart. Both Vicky and I concur that this is a new start. This is not more of the old. With that Saturn and Jupiter moving into Aquarius, this is a new start. Pluto still is hanging around in Capricorn. So there's still stuff that we need to learn about, you know, our relationships with money and how we put that over perhaps our compassion and for others. Where are our real values? Because the thing about Pluto, I always see, you know, visually Pluto like a deep buried chest at the bottom of the ocean. And when you open it, you see your core truths and your core values. And the question is, are you going to act on them? So Pluto's still in Capricorn, and you know, we've got that that aggressive energy, Mars energy there as well. So this is Biden's chart. We also have that North Node in Gemini in the second house. So we're not going to be able to get away with pretending and wallpapering over the cracks in our possessions, in our money, in our economy. There is a reality that we will have to face, and we will have to face it with logic and strategy.
Right. Facts.
Yeah, and I don't see that from Trump. He,
No.
the administration has been propping up the stock market. That's wallpapering over a huge chasm. Let's just pull some cards. I'll ask Vicky. I'll only pull 4. What are the 4 major challenges for Biden and Harris at this, as they move into their new term? What are the 4 major challenges considering this inauguration chart? What are the 4 major challenges? One thing that's occurring to me is that Trump has surrounded himself with those that he is doing or that, the favors for, that inner sanctum of very wealthy people. There's going to be a process of extracting, God knows how intertwined they are in government, but there's going to be a process of extracting all of that, the inner sanctums, those relationships that have been built up over 4 years, the Trump people that have been put in place. There's all of that will need to be undone. So we have the 9 of Wands, which straight away talks to me about it ain't going to be easy for Harris and for Biden and Harris. These are people who are, it's like, to me, this great huge effort is put into getting rid of Trump, and then the ashes, it's like the ashes of his destruction are really starting to become visible. So I see a weariness here, a 9 of Wands, which is also, putting up, we're getting to the end of something, and so we're getting, it's been a battle. That's the meaning of this card, battle weary. So I see that there, but I also see we're moving toward the ending of that cycle. Now I have the King of Wands, which is this fire energy. So there's going to be obviously a lot of celebration as well. It's sort of like, phew, we got out of that. Now what is the work that needs to be done?
Right now the real work begins.
And I see a lot of people around Biden, including Harris, who are prepared to step forward. This screams to me of the lawmakers' legislation. It would be interesting to see in this reading whether or not they are able to take the Senate. But to me, this shows me that there is going to be a lot of leadership coming forward and a lot of people who are willing to do the work, to step out and do the work that needs to be done. So there's courage there and there's leadership. Which, in some way will counteract this weariness, this, after the battle type energy. Now I've got the 7 of Cups, which indicates to me that there is going to be some difficult choices to be made. But there's also this, as I always go with the clairvoyance or that I get when I ask a question. This is about winding back what has been done to the government structures, to the I guess you could call it democratic structures, but I'm talking more internally, more the governance and what Trump has done. It's like it's going to be difficult for them to, well, not difficult, but it's going to take some time to really dig out the mess, the corruptness, those deals. It's, things just won't happen overnight.
Right. But all the hidden things that.
Yeah. Where are they? Where do you start? This is 4 years of it. Where are the skeletons buried? But you have a lot of will and fire energy wanting to take that on. And here we have the 4 of, the Emperor card. So again, this is taking control. So all these conditions are, there at the inauguration time, but ultimately there is this control which is taken back. but wading through, of course, you know, that hidden stuff, when really we've got that kind of energy as a result of what's happened in 2020. But on the other hand, and you know, I like to be optimistic. Look at the fire energy there. There's a lot of will to drive things forward and clean up and fix things. At the base of the pack, we have the new start. So we asked about the inauguration. This is the energy that's flowing through 2020. You talked about it, that we needed to feel it intuitively, and now we're going to be talking, expressing, doing, and in action mode in 2021. So yeah, I mean, this is for me another, and what we've spoken about so far is just further validation that this is Biden and Harris's inauguration chart. Okay, now where are we? Where do we want to go to now?
I will look at my list.
We made a list, everybody. We wanted to make sure that we worked through it and we covered what we needed to cover. The period post-election, Vicky, you were going to throw some cards. A lot of people are frightened, are fearful about what the Trumpsters will do, but also, you know, what he will do. So you're going to tackle what he will do, and I'll tackle whether or not there'll be further civil unrest. But what might Trump do post-election?
So I'm using an oracle deck. It's not a tarot deck. And they're just, the pictures are just so lovely. Okay, so we have memory is the first card. So this is okay, I'm just going to pick them and then see.
Yep.
Before I decide what it means. Combustion. Goodness gracious. An evolution. Evolution. And the question was, what's Trump going to do, right? That was the question, because sometimes I have to get the question as I go through the cards.
Me too.
Personally, I think that these cards to me talk about he's going to live in the past. He's going to say, I was the president. I was like, so that's where he's going. But we have combustion. So combustion is, well, this looks like this looks like America right now, right? In the West. But it's this, the fire has been lit. The fire of transformation has been lit. And I don't think it's any, I think the fact that that America's burning and drowning is symbolic of exactly the emotion. And water and fire are initiatory elements, right? So this is an initiation, and then we have evolution. So this looks to me like he's going to be caught up in the past, but that we're going to move on. Like there's this energy of us moving on and evolving through this. And this card of evolution has all these beautiful like branches coming off. And I feel as though what he's given us is, he's given us this sense that we cannot really depend on the structures of power to take care of us. We can't go back to daddy. Daddy's not going to take care of us. And so we have to create this on our own. And so there's this growing sense of community that's coming out of this. And so I almost feel like with just these three cards that I picked, that it doesn't even matter what happens to him, because I don't think he'll ever see the inside of a jail cell. But I think he's already in jail. I think his whole life, he's in a way has been in a jail of his own mind, and So that's what it looks like to me.
Well, that would fit with that King of Wands energy. Inspiration, finding the inspiration. That's inspiration it comes from an emotion. That will, that drive. It's like taking that emotion and putting the fire and the water together and coming into a maturity. So that fits with that whole theme that you've just drawn. I don't. I've never really seen him in jail. I've always just seen him very isolated, and of course, it's quite possible that he will have his assets seized. That seems to be coming through my last card reading.
Right, I know that. Yeah.
And imagine for someone like him to lose power and to lose what he is, what gives him power in the past, the money. That's going to be karmic justice just there.
Yeah.
When you say you don't think you'll see the inside of the cell, do you mean that he will tie things up in the court, or that Biden and Harris will decide that pursuing him for his crimes may cause more civil unrest?
Right. Right.
Because there's a precedence that in order to have this peaceful transition of power, that past presidents aren't pursued in that way.
Right.
But then I think there's so much will to see justice done that they would have to do that because of the extent of his alleged crime, shall we say.
Right. It almost, to me, it almost feels like a dementia.
Yeah.
Like he won't be able to stand trial.
Yeah.
Because he won't be meant, he'd be like doddering at that point because he loses his money. And I think even if he loses all his money, he'll be taken care of by, maybe Russia or maybe the Saudis. He'll go live in Saudi Arabia, or with something, or Florida. Maybe he'll just go down to Florida and
Yeah, I've always seen him like in an exile type of situation. Now, whether that is physically removed from the US or not, he's on his own. He doesn't have a lot of people around him. And, this dementia aspect could be wandering in his mind, not really knowing, because there is this divorcing from reality. I think that's what Woodward said. His takeaway from all of those conversations was that this man is not living in reality. He's living in his own reality. And therefore...
Right. One of the things I think we have to remember in situations like this is that Trump isn't really in charge. He's just a vehicle that the people who are pulling the strings. And once he is no longer in power, he's nothing to them. Right. And so while he's in a way the head of the spear, he's certainly not the spear, and he's certainly not the people pushing the spear.
I don't see him in Florida creating unrest post-presidency. I see a very sick, unwell man, and possibly I don't like to say it on YouTube, but I don't see him being too long for this world post-presidency. I just don't. I think that the shock and what occurs with his health will deteriorate even further. Now, I was going to pull on civil unrest post-election, and who is behind that? Because, of course, Trump might move into, poor health, but certainly those that back him and those forces will not disappear anytime soon. They might revert.
And that's in the inauguration chart too, with Mars conjunct Uranus in the 12th house of hidden enemies. Yeah. So
let's have a look at will there be this civil unrest, this I guess protesting. It's hard to see. I mean, we've got to remember also that Trump's base is not a majority. It's only about 38%. So, and not all of those will be you know, the his militia type thing. There's not, they're not in huge numbers.
Right.
So it'd be more likely for me, I think, to be more of a hidden, a covert type of operation.
Right. Yeah,
So
he knows a lot of criminals.
that's it, and that's what worries me about you know, Biden. Perhaps, you know, he's had to have a lot of courage to take this on. Yeah, so let's have a look. Will there be civil unrest or will there be violence? I guess that's the better question. Will there be violence post-election, post-Trump presidency? Will there be violence? Will there be violence post? So we've got Biden coming out straight away. So what I saw before I pulled that card was the cup, but I did see a black, you know, kind of black liquid infiltrating that cup. So that shows me that there could be this campaign to poison the hearts and minds of people still, that may not end straight away. This kind of conspiracy theories, this, you know, the same sorts of things that Obama faced, that's not going to go away. But on the positive, we have Biden coming out very strongly, all this emotional new start, this Aquarian, even though this is an earth, a water energy, I do see this Aquarian energy here as well. So, okay, so Biden is coming. Then we have the disappointment. So this is where we get the people who are, you know, bitterly disappointed that Biden has won, and they're sitting there. They're not embracing this at all. They are being offered. Biden's making them an offer, but they're not taking it. Okay, so then we have the Queen of Swords, which is interesting. I think with the protesters, if they do step out of line, we're going to have a totally different reaction from the law. Now, I'm talking post-inauguration. We're going to have, now the DOJ is wanting to charge protesters with sedition. There'll be none of that. You will have, I've got my, I guess, thoughts about who might run the DOJ, but we've got to crack down. We've got, you know, the law cracking down on anyone who is not, you know, breaking it. The law will crack down on anyone who is breaking it, which then forces people underground. So we have the Seven of Pentacles, that they will be reviewing things as to how they can best disrupt this presidency. So Biden's going to offer them peace, but they're not necessarily going to take it. Now, I see some, at the base of the pack, I see some funding here. The same people that have been funding these goon squads, militias, however you want to call them, I see some funding happening here to perhaps do more underground type activities. We will be walking a tightrope, but I don't see death cards here, because I do again get the King of Wands energy coming through. So to me, the biggest danger there, unity will be offered by Biden. There will be people who will take to the streets, but the law will be fairly firm on that. They will be reviewing their plans, going back to that drawing board and looking at how can we disrupt things. And I do think they find some funding there from some of those hidden forces that perhaps are already funding them. But I don't see a death card here. I don't see the Five of Wands. I see order being restored. So that's good. I probably shouldn't pull any more cards. I'll leave it there.
One of the things that struck me when I was looking at the Inauguration Chart, or even just how we're moving into this very Aquarian time, is that the internet is going to be much more, you know, it's great in the days when you could just say anything, right? But that's going to change, and I think they're going to really come down with the North Node in that second house in Gemini. They're really going to come down on talking, and it's going to feel like, and maybe to a certain extent it will be, where we don't feel like we can say what we need to say either. And that could bring up some issues. But I think that we do have to look at the facts, and we do have to, it's like we have toys that we're too young to play with, in a way. You know what I'm saying? We're just not mature enough. And we do need some restrictions, and that's coming from somebody who has Aquarius on their ascendant. I hate restrictions, but I follow the rules that are there if they're valid rules. They're those who don't follow the rules at all, and the rules are for them, I think, for the most part. So I do think that there's going to be challenges ahead, but I really think that Trump is just going to, and this is just a feeling, he's going to lose. He's going to say he didn't lose. He's going to try everything. He's going to just, his whole presidency has been putting up smoke and mirrors and smoke screens, and at the on the election, Neptune is square the nodes, and Neptune is square his nodes, and on the election, he's having his North Node return, like right around that time. So this is a fated time for him. And fated doesn't always mean winning. Fated just means that something big is going to happen. And I do feel like I felt for a little while that it's over for him. I think it was maybe September, or it is September, August. I think it started to really start to devolve.
Yes.
Evolve. And he's dangerous now because of that, I think.
Yes, no, I agree. And I think he said the other day he's going to become more vicious. But this is again with Barr. If Barr wasn't there, a lot of what Trump is doing would be impossible. But of course, here we have destiny, that Barr comes along at that time with the views and the will that he has, and has completely, I think, almost in a way been just as dangerous as what Trump has, because he is damaging and eroding the law.
Well, this is a country that talks about the rule of law. And one of the things that I think is, yes, the rule of law is great, but I think natural law is even more powerful, because the rule of law is the law of man. And, Mars, Uranus in the 12th house could also be climate change. I mean, just in 2020 alone, what's happened in Australia, what happens here. Now it's just like, people are like, once he gets out of the picture, people are going to look around and say, oh my God, what are we going to do? And then I think that's when you get the people like Buttigieg and Yang and Sanders and Elizabeth Warren and all of these people coming in to help figure out how we're going to move through this time and, come out the other side, and then have a world to live with. It really is the rising of the feminine.
Yes, yeah.
Right? And there's other astrological things. There's Black Moon Lilith, and there's Eris, which are both revolutionary feminine energies in Aries conjunct Mars. And we have Mars making squares to Pluto, making squares to Jupiter, making squares to Saturn, first quarter squares. This is a push. This is a lot of heavy lifting that we're going to have to do to get to a point where we can even just get started.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but I keep waiting for this to be over just so we can get started doing what we need to do.
Well, that period from 2021 to 2024 is going to be, I think, all about world economies and climate change, and managing the threat of things like viruses, COVID may go away. There'll be something else come up. This is the reality call for us. We have to get smart. We have to bring in the best of the knowledge, the best of science, the best of.
And we have to get healthy, because the people who are dying are the sick people.
That's right.
And part of the reason they're sick is because of inequities in money, right? And then also our relationship to our own bodies. We don't have a good relationship to our bodies. Just medicating ourselves doesn't really, it's not the way. We have to reconnect with the body that we're in, and we have to reconnect with the planet that we're on. Yeah. The thing is, if we do that, like that Mars-Uranus conjunction that we see could be the beginning of a relationship with the planet. Because Uranus and Taurus is all about awakening of the earth. And so there are so many, we could talk about that for an hour if we wanted to. But it's like the earth is speaking to us, and we have to listen. Yeah. And a lot of this stuff that we've been going through is like mental constructs that when push comes to shove, if you don't have enough food in your belly and you don't have a roof over your head or have some sort of shelter, or if there's a wildfire coming down the hill, I mean, this is Taurus is basic stuff. Taurus is what is your basic needs here? What do we need? And we need to get along. We need to cooperate with one another, because we'll never make it otherwise. Yeah. And so, we have to talk to one another. We have to connect.
Yeah, and which is what we're doing here today.
Right.
I'd like to pull a few cards, Vicky, if I can, on 2021, just to look at the energies that might be running through that year. We've talked a lot about, the reality checks, and that no longer are we going to be able to live in that illusion that things are going to be the same. The world is changing. This is a new era. It's going to require a lot of innovation to solve problems. But there's also that call from Pluto and that chest at the bottom of the sea. We are going to be asked and challenged, where do you stand in relation to the truth? Now, that's both a collective consciousness decision and examination, as much as it is an individual one. So I just want to have a look. I'll just pull a few cards, maybe three cards, to see what are the underlying energies. So I'm getting climate change. I'm getting that real pull to climate change in 2021, which is just going to add. I hope everybody's got the leaders have strong shoulders in 2021, because they're going to be further challenged by natural disasters as a result of climate change. Okay, so show me the energies that are running through 2021. Okay, so I have the Time Master. So this is almost a coming together. You talked a lot about these situations didn't just suddenly arise. These have been permeating and coming to the surface over time. 2021 will be a critical year to the future of the planet, the future of civil society, the next generation. It's time. It's time for these decisions to be made. And, are we going to be the time master, or are we going to do something else? Because there's a 7 in that. There's a 5 and a 7. So there's change, but you talked about the vibration.
Right, it's a 7.
It's a 7.
It's knowing yourself. And that 25/7 vibration is located in the heart. And so it's knowing your own heart. It's also connected with the Knight of Wands. So it's about being inspired.
And moving into that kingly energy, that maturity as well. So I love it that we've got magic and the Time Master. So while we are you know, while we are contemplating these very serious things, one of the huge shifts in 2020 to 2020, I think to 2021, is this forging of spiritual connections. Now, this is 33, the master number. We talked about the voice, communication. You're going to have almost like, if we look at the age of Aquarius, there is going to be the beginnings in 2021 of this movement, a really solid movement toward our higher selves, to the upper realms. Some people say this is ascension, if you like. I have a very practical view of what ascension means. To me, this is becoming conscious of the spiritual world that you live in, and then communicating that as well to others. So, you know, many people are in the closet a bit, but this is coming out now more, I won't say mainstreaming spiritualism, that's a cliche, but there is going to be a real move, and a move that will be seen toward this greater connection with the higher self. This is where I feel we've been moving to in between these challenges. And our final message is the journey, the journeyman, a 2 and a 9. So yeah, this is validation that we are starting a new era, a new time. By no means is it going to be easy, but we have this greater connection with things beyond our material world. And I think astrology, and I think light workers, I think tarot, clairvoyance, all has a role to play in connecting people. And so, yeah, we're living in very, very, the potential for evolution and the getting of wisdom on this journey is there. So I see a hopefulness in 2021. Look at the wisdom. What is the journey about? The journey is the getting of wisdom. So they're my oracles on 2021. So what would you like?
I think we're gonna be okay. I think what I would add to that, looking at those cards, is that, you know, the time master is very like linear. It's like a very linear way. Magic is very non-linear, and magic is the realm of the empress, really, right? The empress, the goddess, the imagination. And so it is a balance of the logical and the imaginative. And it is a balance between the masculine, which is much more linear and much more sort of, what would that be, left brain, and the feminine, which is much more creative. I mean, everything comes through the woman, right? So if she has an equal stand, like one of the things about Trump and all his, is he's so misogynistic. You know, of all the things, he's cruelest to women and children. Right? And Biden is not. Biden is, you know, maybe he hugs people too much and kisses them on the head, but this combination of Biden and Harris, I think, has really sort of is symbolic to those two cards. And then the journey together, and it's a coming together of the masculine and the feminine. And if we can hook into the power of the earth and the magic of the imagination, and you know, we have the capacity to take care of things that our logical mind said there's no way we're going to be able to fix that. But if we're only coming from that place, then they're right, we're not going to be able to fix it. But if we can, you know, bring in, and that I think is also part of the ascension, becoming more aware of all your faculties and the connectedness that we have. And when you do your thing, I do my thing, when we come together, there's more power behind that. And the more of us that can do that and come together with some vision, and your channel, I learned so much from watching you, because there, you know, it's not just, you know, is Trump in, is Trump out, but there's all this spiritual wisdom that comes through. you know, and I try to do that as well. I try to, you know, put it out there so that people have something positive to focus on instead of all this negativity. Because, you know, what is it, where attention goes, energy flows. And if we should just ignore Trump, I think he would go away a lot faster.
I agree. I agree.
So I try to ignore him as much as possible.
Yeah. I think, you know, you've got to find the meaning behind these events that are challenging us so much at the moment, and will continue in the future. Because it is all about the learning at the end of the day, isn't it? It's all about what we're learning, that wisdom, the getting of wisdom. Well, I think, where are we now? We've probably been at it for a while. So
Yeah.
I just want to thank you for giving so freely of your knowledge and your wisdom and your intuition and your insight to our audience here today. You know, I don't
Really
take
been my
that for
pleasure.
granted. I do not take that for granted, and I am extremely grateful for it. So,
Well, thank you for giving me the opportunity. This has been really a lot of fun.
all right, okay, all right. I'll end the recording, and then I'll flick you a quick email. So, thank you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.